All right, good afternoon again. Thank you for your patience and for joining the class today. Irrespective of the numbers, we decided to proceed with the class. So we just continue where we left off in the last class. I'll just do a brief introduction of what NPM is about. NPM stands for Network of Professionals for Missions. It's a missions mobilization platform that caters to all the primary focus. I mean, we have other focus, but primary focus is to get Christian professionals involved in missions. And because our target is Christian professionals, we understand that we don't just want Christian professionals to be involved in the missions or missions work or be involved in work in the missions field and not also be relevant in their primary environment, which would be their workplaces and where they live. You know, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we believe that evangelism is supposed to be all round. I mean, you're not just interested in what is happening thousands of kilometers away from you. You're also interested in what is happening around you, the souls that are saved around you. In fact, if you're not interested in the souls that are saved around you, you cannot really be committed or interested in the souls that are hundreds or thousands of kilometers away. So that's what NPM is about. We have several arms of the ministry, but for the sake of time, we don't want to go into that. I would just like us to get right into it at the moment. I would like to invite Mr. Onosami Emmanuel. He's the visionary of the ministry. He's going to be taking a brief session before our next session by 4 o'clock today. So he's going to come in and take a brief session before we introduce the speaker of the day, who will be coming in by 4 p.m. today. So, Mr. Onosami, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that brief introduction. I just want to quickly share my screen. I want to believe that we all can see my screen now. Can we all see my screen?
Initially, yes, can see it now.
Is it in presentation mode?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much for that introduction. Like you said, my name is Emmanuel Onosami. You know, we want to sincerely apologize for what happened last week, where, you know, the second speaker for the day was abruptly, you know, cut off from the session. I was unable to come back, you know, followed up with the speaker, and realized that, you know, what happened was just unremediable. You know, we couldn't remedy it to get back on the meeting, and as such, the meeting was stopped. We also try as much as possible to look into his calendar, you know, to possibly come back today, you know, to retake the session. But unfortunately, you know, he's not in the room. And what I will be doing this afternoon is just to stand in for him, you know, to possibly complete his session, you know, that was started last week and ended abruptly. You know, so if you could recall and you were part of the conversation that was going on last week, Mr. Abayomi was discussing how to prepare a winning CV just immediately after Mr. Emmanuel Echo, you know, discussed with us on the ABCs of smashing an interview, talking about the hacks of you know, performing well in an interview. And today we just want to take a cue from what has happened last week and build on that understanding to further equip us, you know, as a fresh graduate and young starters, you know, that will be having opportunity. And just before I continue in today's presentation. Later today, I think by past 4 p.m., we'll be having Mrs. Christina, Shoname speaking to us about aligning purpose and career. And I think that is a very important session for us to pay keen attention on. One of the problems that we have in today is people trying to balance or juggle their purpose in life and how they want to marry that with their career. They shouldn't be mutually exclusive. They should be jointly coexisting. And the understanding will be labored, later today in this room, in this class. And I just also want to let us know that today is supposed to be the final class session for this semester, but we still have one more topic that we have not been able to take and will not be able to take today, and that's the session for Mrs. Fokwe Makono Daniel, and hopefully we hope to confirm when she'll be able to take that session. And whenever we get that time, so communicate to us, that time. And that is what we then mark the end of this semester. Okay, so the objective of these slides, that I will quickly be running through and attend to questions at the end of the day is to, run through these following learning areas. Number one, run through Mr. Abayomi, the facilitator's profile, that has come up with this material, and then the common CV types, and then CV preparation, what should go in, and then CV preparation, trimming, and then applying the rule of thumb ultimately. Okay. So, Mr. Abayomi, started his career with MTN, and later joined KPMG. Then he became the head of HR at Anderson LP. And then before he joined African Plus Partner as the group head of HR, where he currently acts, during that class also, Mr. Abayomi made it known that there are so many resources out there on how to prepare a winning CV, and he has only tailored, this material to his experience, both as a potential employee and a recruiter. He has according to him, recruited over 2,000 candidates from his MTN career down to African Plus career. So, having reviewed many CVs and also having submitted CVs, in the bids to apply for a job, it is from his own experience that he has put together, this material to guide us how to CV. And he has communicated on this slide, there are two major types of CV that typically exist, and for some experts, they believe that even these two types of CVs can be blended, to further present a stronger CV for whatever position that you are applying for a role, And the first is the chronological resume, and then the other is the skill-based stroke functional resume. Like the words just typically connotes chronological resume. Chronological resume talks about, your timeline, how you have grown in the rank, to where you are currently, and all the experiences you've had, all the jobs you've taken, and the roles that you've occupied. That's an example of a chronological resume, and that is the most common resume that we have out there. But why we are used to the chronological resume, the skill-based stroke functional resume, just wants to quickly list all the places you have worked at, and then focus on your skills, the skills that you have and how or you have applied them in the places that you have worked hard value to the organization. I think it is important to mention now that your CV goes beyond just telling people about where you have worked and what you have done. I think your CV is also your first, opportunity of throwing in a very good shot on, the value that you have added to business over time, and how you also intend to add value to the current role that you are applying for. So I just believe that at the end of today's session, some of us, we have some critical to-dos around our CV so that we go and revisit them. And number one, expand on our value proposition and our CV. And number two, when it comes to applying for specific job, call out those value proposition more boldly, and more, confidently in those CV before we submit them for a job application. So let me just quickly run through the slide and what I have in front of me. For the chronological CV, it is generally accepted and it's widely accepted and easy to use. You can find millions and dozens of templates, for chronological CV online. You don't even need to break a sweat, to find a very catchy, template of a chronological CV. But if you compare it to skill-based and functional resume, that is where, all these career coach, actually earn their fortune from, where they ask you that, based on everywhere you work, can I help you come up, with a very, loud, bold, skill-based functional resume, and that is what, career CV writers actually earn their, their fortune from, Why the chronological is widely accepted and you can easily come up with a template. So it depends on the job you are putting your application for. You want to be sure that you are putting in your best foot forward and you are representing yourself well. And also it depends on the organization. If you are, applying to a traditional organization, you may not necessarily want to invest your time in running a skill-based or functional resume in our environment. If you're applying for a government job, it may not necessarily be worth it your time to go that level of investment, in doing a skill-based to functional resume. But when it comes to a competitive role and you need to, put your best foot forward, I think, a measure or a blend of chronological and functional resume is always the winning formula, for this kind of competitive role, if you want to do that. So let's continue with chronological resume. And let me mention here that if you have questions, you can drop it in the chat room at the end of my presentation. We will have opportunity to, ask those questions and interact together based on the learnings that we have learned, this afternoon. So the chronological resume also helps with, at least for recruiters, is easy scanning. You have worked here, you occupy this job role function, you should be a fit here, you should not be a fit here. So putting on the lens of a recruiter, it's easier for a recruiter to really, just quickly, delete or pass, or reject a candidate in that case, to say this candidate is rejected, this candidate is accepted. But when you present a skill-based and functional resume, you are forcing, that recruiter to have a careful assessment of your value proposition and then make a informed judgment on whether, the kind of value you typically add to organization is the kind of value that they are looking for, rather than just a quick, pass or reject kind of template, And the chronological resume also allows for background explanation, it's chronological, it's easier for them to track gaps, in your CV. So if you said you work in company A from so period to so period, and then you move to company B and you start that as another date. So there's a gap between company A and B. It's easier for them to ask, okay, what happened? Is there anything going on there and all that? So I think some tact needs to be deployed, not necessarily because you are concealing the truth, but because you want the recruiter to actually focus on what is necessary for the purpose of selecting you as the best candidate for the job, and I think I'm getting some feedback that some people want to attach face to the voice. So let me quickly, activate my video for a while so that for those that wants to attach face to the voice can have that. Okay. Okay, thank you. So I was speaking about the fact that chronological, resume quickly put you on the spot, when they are following the timeline and they find gaps, you then have to explain the gap, and if you have full explanation about the gaps, then there's no big deal, you can do that. I was also speaking to the fact that it is not necessarily because you want to conceal the truth or you want to tactically dodge the truth about the reason you have a gap. It could be for genuine reason, and that is absolutely in order. But one of the disadvantage or demerits of putting up that kind of CV is that you then get your recruiter to focus on things that are not even very strategic for the purpose of selecting you as the best candidate for that role. But when you present a functional skill-based resume, you're putting forward your strong position from a value-based perspective. The recruiter is then forced to sit back and evaluate your contribution rather than focusing on the gap that the chronological resume will ordinarily put forward. And I think chronological CV, like we all know, it typically starts from your most current job to your first job and all that. And usually as a general summary, like we put a summary, this is my summary as a person. I want to be my objective as a person and the summary of my career. I have added value in so company for so number of years. I have a strong position as an expert in the taxation industry. That is your summary, and your objective is to continue to add value to organization wherever the opportunity presents itself. Those are examples, and but if you focus on the skill-based and functional resume and look at what is on the screen now, you spend time clarifying your skills. It is important, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. Maybe I can share from that experience. And the person was thinking about, putting a clock in, clock out machine in his business, for him to track whether employees are coming to work and not coming to. I said, look, that is actually counterproductive in this era that we are. We are in the era of productivity tracker. You understand? And not necessarily a time tracker. You understand? Because you could come to work and clock in and then you were TikToking for the rest of the day. That doesn't mean you have been productive and you've not added any value to the business anyway. And your salary will be guaranteed, even if you clock in and clock out. You understand? Because you are tracking time. But these days, employers are moving forward productivity tracker, such that, wherever mode you want to deliver your job, just make sure that you deliver this within this week. And once you have delivered it, then you have added value to the business that week. Productivity tracker, if you like, come 8 to 10 p.m. every day and you're unable to deliver on what has been agreed, you have not added value to the business. So businesses are moving away from time tracking to productivity tracking. Therefore, even in the process of recruiting, businesses are focusing on productivity, value addition, rather than chronological time spent in a particular field. For example, you could say you have spent 15 years, you understand, in the finance industry, for example, as a banker. And at the end of the day, I looked at all the projects that you have worked on. You have not taken on any complex role, any strategic project role, any transformational role. Even throughout the year of your experience, although years do count, but I will kind of, put lesser weight on somebody that have just done 5 years, but the person has, taken up challenges and has engaged in transformational projects. I believe that that person will add more value to my business rather than, the person that has just counted years. This is a Christian gathering, so some examples are appropriate. The fact that you are born again today and you have spent 30 years, in the body of Christ doesn't mean you have matured. It takes you exercising yourself with the things of God and putting your energy in the things of God, committing yourself to living the life of God for you to really be transformed as a believer. So you could be 30 years in the church environment and you have not added any value to the kingdom, and you can actually be 1 or 2 years in the kingdom and you've added much value than somebody that is 30 years. So it is the same thing. And that's what I used to tell people, that it doesn't necessarily matter how long that you have spent when applying on a job, when applying for a role. Yes, many job descriptions will say 5 years experience required, 10 years experience required, 15 years experience required. But I bet you, if you are able to put forward a skill-based functional resume that strongly communicate the value you have added to business, even within the short time of your experience, whether 3 years or 4 years or 1 year below the required year, but they can see clearly on your CV the value proposition that you're going to put on the table based on the number of projects that you have worked on. Then, you are truly selling yourself. And that's why I used to put it forward to people that you don't run away from work. I tell you the truth, the true value of a professional, it is the number of problems that you have been able to solve. That is the true value of any professional. So if you take up a job today, maybe as a year one, and they say, go and work on this tax, and you think you are very smart, you are dodging jobs, I said you are really undoing yourself, to be honest. Because when it comes to putting forward your value proposition, those are the testimonies that will come forward. Oh, I was part of the project that led the transformation of the business from 100 million revenue to 300 billion revenue. Everybody wants to listen to that. What did you do in that thing? What was your contribution? How critical was your contribution? If I am your recruiter and I'm looking about growing my revenue also, I want to listen to you rather than somebody that said, I've been in the sales department for 100 years and I can't really see on the CV how the person has transformed anything. I don't know if we are following. If you are following, you can drop something in the chat room just for me to be sure that we are following the conversation. I'm trying to make a point to say it is value that most recruiter wants to pay attention to in this era, not necessarily age. Not necessarily age. So your CV must be able to communicate value proposition. Yes, there's a lazy man approach to preparing CV these days. You just want to quickly download a template online, just quickly populate, put in 1 or 2 together, and here we go, fire. To get a ChatGPT to do a what do they call it now? A summary for you, or what do they call it? A cover letter. You understand? And you copy from ChatGPT, you put it there, and you think you have applied for a job. No. There has to be some level of intentionality based on the role that you are applying for. You understand? Even for a fresh graduate, you understand? You have been through the university system. You have led some organization before. Don't just put it there and say class rep 1999 to 2004. No, that did not say anything now. The best that can say for you is that as a class rep, the best information anybody can get from that is that you are liaising with the lecturer, getting a course notes, making photocopy, making it available to that. No, but if you have done something more than that, you can say that, oh, there was a time we had a challenge about a particular course. I was critical. So seeing to it that as a class, we got an experienced person, a senior that came to the class to give us extra tutelage. He recommended text. We followed through. I led the something, and everybody in the class ended up scoring a minimum of B in that course. That is a transformational CV you are putting up there. you are putting the value proposition based on the things that you've had opportunity to work on. Don't just say, I'm the head of my ministry. You understand? For example, for some of our church folks, don't just say, I'm the head of this department in my church and put it there in your CV. You know, that will not really add any value and speak about value proposition. You can further put context to it. Oh, during my tenure as, you know, value proposition CV, putting all your skills out there and how you have used it to achieve real life results. Oh, during my tenure, there was a time we're having challenges on a particular program and blah, 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 blah. I was able, by the wisdom of God and the team members, come up, you understand, with so solution. I know you may not be able to add by the wisdom of God on your CV. I just said that because of this guy you have here in this room. You understand? So you understand. So I'm just putting it on the table. Welcome, Mr. Abayomi. Thank you for joining us. You know,
thank you very much.
Yeah, we will soon get.
I can take over when you're done.
Yeah. So you want to focus on that value proposition. Like I said, for me, a winning CV is a skillful blend of both chronological and skill-based approach. You have to learn how to skillfully blend, you know, quickly listing your chronological achievements and then focusing on your value proposition, particularly as it relates to the job you are applying for. You understand? I have it on the screen that there will always be pros and cons for each type, and it should be governed largely by the type of role being applied for. You know, and functional CV will be more appropriate when you are not taking up a generalist role. No, admin officer is a generalist though. No, but when it comes to a skill, you understand, application like an expert kind of role, you know, you want to be sure of how you have delivered value, you know, in that particular field or in that career line, you know, and added value to organization per time. I think let me, you know, step aside and allow the owner of this slide to defend the slide. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Abayomi. Welcome. It's good to have you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Great to be here. So just to continue from where Mr. Emmanuel stopped. My name is Abayomi Olatemiju, by the way. I'm pretty sure my profile must have been shared initially before the session started a couple of weeks ago. But you see, he has already taken us through that session where we look at both the chronological and the functional, and then also taking us through what are the differences. I mean, from the top of your head, if you were to do a functional type of CV, yeah, and on this slide, we've sort of put together the two types just side by side. So it's very easy for you all to sort of tell what the differences are, what the similarities are, you know, and such like that. Now, if you look at the functional resume, as an example, you see that the person is starting with what? With the skills that he or she feels stands him apart, or him or her apart. Now, one of the things that the functional resume can sort of do is, and I will juxtapose this with the chronological as well. The functional resume, in as much as if you are in a situation where you're probably applying for a job, and let's say in your experience so far, you've probably had a situation where you've not worked for like 2 years, or maybe 3 years. Or let's say there was a period when you did your NYSC. After NYSC, you probably did like a junior accountant role for like 4 years. And then your CV has like a 5-year gap. And all of a sudden, bam, you understand? You just appear, you're trying to apply for a CFO position. Now, before everybody will start looking at you and saying the likes of, I mean, other recruiters and someone like me, if your CV were to come my way, I'll be asking myself the question, okay, did you get raptured and then now came back to life after many years?
The second coming of Christ.
Exactly. I don't really know, what exactly happened. Why did you just disappear? So I'll be asking those probing questions. Now, to sort of de-escalate your, De-escalate the differences or the gap that you have on your CV. It's always important that you use a functional resume, because that functional resume will help you to sort of throw more light on your competencies as opposed to your competence, as opposed to the gap that you have. Sorry, excuse me. So it helps to sort of accentuate what your competencies are, as opposed to what the gaps would be. And then in some instances, you may be able to actually convince people, that, okay, this is the skill I have, and this is why I stand a good chance. A good place where this functional skill will probably work for is in if you are trying to apply for tech-based roles. All right. Now, there might be people that might just start off from school, and as soon as they left university, I mean, regardless of whether they just left university or not, there are a lot of people that already have this massive strength in JavaScript or computer programs and all of those things. Now, before you can start asking people, okay, what have you done? What have you done? People are going to start telling you, actually, I have competency in programming languages. I can do this, I can do that, I can do C#, I can do C++. And when you are doing all of those things, it sort of lets people focus more on the competence you've actually presented, as opposed to how long you've been doing something, or if you even have experience doing those things. On the chronological resume, on the other part, just as the name sounds, it has to show a logical step-by-step movement from one place to the other. So if you've done NYSC, you've worked in Federal Ministry of Works, then you've gone to work in maybe one of the big four, then you've left one of the big four, you've gone to maybe tech. From tech, you've now gone back to big four, then nobody has a problem with your movement. Although moving every 6 months or 7 months might be a red flag, but nobody generally has a problem with movement. But you need to be able to show that, okay, from NYSC, I went up. Now, some people may decide that they want to do the earliest down to the latest. So that is, you want to do from your NYSC down to your most recent job role. But then again, that might be like a time-wasting technique for people that, for recruiters that want to spend maybe 60 seconds or 40 seconds looking at your CV. You don't want to give them that entire wahala of going through, from the beginning to the end. So, what the best practice is to start from the most recent. Now, you see, from the chronological resume we have on the screen, you have, from the chronological that we have on the screen, you can see that Mr. Daniel Rossi has 2014 to present Deputy Finance Manager. All right. Now, functional resume, what do you have? You have the skills and attributes first before you actually have the career history. Okay, so I think that I think we should also point out the fact that one similarity that you can see on this page is at least the personal profile. It doesn't mean that on both types you will not have situations where you have to put your professional qualifications if you have any, or your educational qualifications if you have any. But those are also part of the personal part of the similarities that we have. I pinpointed the personal profile because I will be speaking more to it in subsequent slides. Okay. Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Ima. Now, when I talk about personal summary samples, it's one of the things that I've seen in my time looking at CVs. Some people have very crappy ways of writing CVs. It is you need to look at it as though it's your invitation to the recruiter to sort of get to know more about you. But then you also don't want to bore him or her into thousands of words. So you need to just get something short, sharp, and punchy. And for God's sake, when you are writing your personal profile, it is a big turnoff if your sentence construction is even off at that point. It is a massive turnoff because people like us will read it. And if you cannot give me a very good personal summary, if it doesn't even show you or show me that you have an idea of what you want to sort of do with your career and how this role you're applying to fits that your job, that's your vision, then I begin to doubt if you are even a good candidate for the role. So all of these things cannot be taken off and be looked at independently. Everything comes together to sort of form the full meal. So I've put 4 examples here. The first example is something that I actually helped a friend of mine work on. His stuff was looking a little bit washed down before. So he reached out to me and I said, okay, let's see how we can sort of rewrite it. An MBA candidate with hands-on experience in strategy, business development, and client management with a rich history. So part of what he wanted to actually apply for a role. So part of what we needed to achieve with crafting this was, in that summary, state your strengths, but also state the kind of things, the kind of job that you're looking out for. So as you can see, with the very next sentence, with a rich history of leading and collaborating with teams cross-functionally, I am on the lookout for HR opportunities where my skills can find true expression. Full stop. You also need to avoid run-on lines. Now, what do we mean by run-on lines? Run-on lines basically means what that means. Now, if you said, if Jesus was weeping and you left it like that, we'll be asking you, okay, if Jesus was weeping, then okay, then what would have happened? What happened then? So now that sentence is not complete. All right. Now, Jesus wept is a complete sentence on its own. And then a complete sentence is usually followed by a full stop. Now, as you can see, the first line, an MBA candidate with hands-on experience in strategy, business development, and client management, full stop. That's a complete sentence. You don't need to now make it. And a common thing you will see with run-on lines is you will see a lot of commas. You just an MBA with client management, comma, with the registration, comma, and then comma, until you'd have done 10 lines. You now put full stop. You know, at that time, you've lost whoever your reader is. You want to make it short and sharp, each sentence. In as much as you also want your summary, your personal profile, your personal summary to be short, you also want the sentences to be short and punchy. All right. I'm on the lookout for HR opportunities. Where my skills can find true expression. Full stop. With great success running an impactful business and boost profitability across sectors that I've worked, I am poised to bring to bear vision, enthusiasm, deliberation, and innovative mindset that has guaranteed me success. Full stop. You don't need to make it longer than that. Now, I'm going to place it side by side with a profile summary that I feel is not good enough. I seek a very challenging job opportunity in any goal-oriented firm. Now, they're just throwing, what is any goal-oriented firm? To me, it shows that you do not even take the time of day to even say, okay, the Alagbaja Enterprises. You do not even take some time to be able to streamline your whatever to even fit me or my business or the type of industry I play in. You just said any goal-oriented firm. And I know that young people, or more like we are all young, but young graduates, people that just finished from school, they tend to fall in this category because, you know, there's so much information on CVs that you read online. Is the reason why this kind of session is introductory at best. All right. And it's just myself and Emmanuel sharing our experiences. All right. Because I've also had the privilege of working with Mr. Emmanuel across 2 firms. All right. And I mean, between the 2 of us, hundreds of candidates have already passed between us, you know, in structured interview processes, you know, and so we've seen cases, we've seen the highs, the lows, we've seen the very terrible. All right. And it's why we can speak to some of these things. So we're just sharing our ideas. It's not in any way going to stand as a Bible. All right. But day upon day, I mean, precept upon precept, you build knowledge every day. Now, going back to the second example, I seek a very challenging job opportunity in any goal-oriented firm that rewards resourceful staff with good incentives. So I've highlighted in yellow the areas I just feel are off. Now, what this line shows to me is that, number one, you're not really clear about what you want. Number two, above all, and I think what's still is the fact that we all might be looking for money. But you see, you want to leave money out of your personal profile. All right. There's going to be a time for a structured interview. And if you pass, they're going to start having conversations with you on negotiation on what you want, the kind of benefits that you want. All of those things will be taken care of. And at that time, even if they don't mention it to you, you can ask. okay, what exactly are the benefits I stand to gain if I blah, 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 blah. It is not in your, you should not at the point of sending CV that you don't even know whether they will screen out or not screen out. You start putting, I'm looking for a company that will pay me money. This is basically what it means. Company that will pay me money and give me good benefits. And then you go very vague. I desire to be an agent of positive change. You can be a police officer. They are all agents of positive change. You can be a pastor. The pastors as an agent, men of God, or at least people in the clergy. There are people, I mean, at least the idea is there are people of that can act as agents of positive change. In fact, you can go and run in office and be involved in your local politics and be an agent of positive change in your environment. I mean, you can as well you can be a, what do you call it? I mean, you get the point. You can be so many things without having to apply to that particular role. You get, but so when you put things like this, they are very vague and they don't help or serve anybody. They don't achieve any results. You are better served not even having any summary than putting something like this there. I want to take the company to greater heights. Did they tell you that the company was in lower, was low? Did they say the company was not doing well? So you can't sit down and make outlandish claims like this. I want to take the company to greater heights. You understand? The company was not dying. And if the company is dying, I can assure you that it's not you, it's not NYSC or graduate training they will be recruiting. They will be recruiting MGCU, because at that level, to turn a company around, all right, you probably need a change in C-suite executive. So that your CFO, your chief technology officer, your chief financial officer, your chief executive officer, chief operations officer, those are the people that would use their strategic vision to sort of paint a new picture and then drive the company in a new direction. It is not NYSC that you now call to say, our company is dying, NYSC or graduate trainee, please come and help us. No, that's not their job. All right. It's usually a training base. So you can't sit down and be saying, I want to take the company to greater heights. So let's stop things like that. The second one, commercially astute human resource manager with over 15 years of experience, developing high achieving compliant workforces. Full stop. Proficient in the creation of development proficient in the creation and development of L&D, recruitment, compensation, and employee engagement strategies for continued progression in line with companies' identified targets. Full stop. 3 lines. Full stop. Complete sentences. You don't have to overburden it. The fourth one, also a big mistake. I am a committed and hardworking personality. The use of personality is, I believe, is wrong. Now, when you're talking about your personality traits and all those things, you are better served saying, I'm a committed and hardworking person. In fact, I'm a committed and hardworking individual, but personality is off. That can work under minimum supervision. Of course, we know. Part of the JD is that you should be able to work under minimum supervision. If you can't, you are a -1 to start with. I am proactive and quick to learn in any enhancing corporate environment. I am a multitasking good team player. The arrangement is off. I am a good team player is okay. With skills in multitasking or with skills in prioritization. That is what multitasking is. See, nobody in the world can actually multitask. The mere fact of multitasking, in my own personal opinion, is fallacy. I think it's only the Holy Spirit that can multitask. It's only God and the Trinity that can multitask. Because multitasking basically means you are doing 2 things at the same time. I don't think anybody can do 2 things at the same time. Now, the best you can achieve is you prioritize. You might have 10 things to do, but you know that I have to do number 1, then I go to number 5, then I go to number 3, based on whatever the circumstance may be. So prioritization skills is a better fit here than multitasking skills. I'm a good team player and hardworking to achieve, even the grammatical composition is wrong, hardworking to achieve organizational goals and objectives. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to our grammar, our tenses, and when you talk about grammar, you are also looking in the region of your punctuations and dot your I's and cross your T's. It is very important. And make it brief. Please make it brief. It is not. And as your experience level sort of grows, you will find out that your personal summary will also sort of modify. You get. So that is how it goes. So for what should go into your resume, I mean, I've sort of highlighted everything. A good brief, Sorry, can you go back to the previous slide? Yeah. So
okay, sorry for breaking. I think we are running a bit
late.
We are.
No. Okay.
Our second speaker is already in the room, so maybe we'll just try to wrap up by 4:20.
Okay, not a problem.
Or maximum 4:25. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, I mean, these are the things you should talk about the things that you should be mindful of when you're talking about the things that go into your resume. I'm sure Mr. Emmanuel will also share these slides with you. Try and make sure that your CVs are brief, especially if you're a graduate trainee. Please, you don't need 5 pages as a graduate trainee. Emmanuel, please go to the next slide. Always try and make sure your CVs at most should be 2 to 3 pages. Graduate trainee, target 2 pages. If you're an experienced person, 3 pages at most should be okay for you. The next slide, we'll just quickly run through. Well, what should be left out of the CV? Please, nobody wants to know what your religion is, what your marital status is. Your email cannot be fuckbabe@gmail.com. Please, you need the same way your email cannot be my name is Pastor Lawrence. No, you need to make it first name dot last name or first name underscore last name or something that's not Yahoo boy for G@gmail.com. Please make sure that your email is as decent as you want it to be. Your references, I don't think you need to put all your references in an email. If they need it, if they give you a job, they most likely will reach out to your references, your referees. Even if they want to contact them, they will still ask you, provide your referee information. I don't think you have to start supplying your referee information in a CV that will be going out to different places. We need to be mindful of data protection as well. COVID-19 status, you don't need to tell anybody that one. State of origin, you don't need to tell anybody. House address, please, you don't need to write number 6, this on the Tamedo Street, beside this thing bus stop. Please, no. That is too much information. As I said, you don't know where your CV will get to. You don't want to put yourself at a security risk. Just put Lagos, Nigeria. That will do. It can be Surulere, Lagos, Nigeria. Full stop. That's okay. Please don't. All of these things are mistakes you can make that will put you in a situation where bias can creep into your application. So please make it as objective as possible. Okay, I'm done with this. I think the next slide we can go. So my general rule of thumb, know your resume, state only what you can defend. If you ever come across me as an interviewer, I will ask you the questions. I will ask you my questions. And if you cannot defend them, I will know that you're going to lie on your CV. Ensure that you're always checking your CV for correctness. Please, if you know that there are some of you, if you go back to your CV, you might find out that your email is probably missing a letter. Your mobile number is probably wrong. So please ensure that those things are properly checked. Punctuation errors are a big turn off. Adapt your resume to the opportunity that you're seeking. So please don't use one size fits all. If you're applying to Flutter with on a particular type of job, please, even if you're applying for different HR roles, for example, you cannot use the same CV across board. You need to tailor it to fit the kind of role you're applying for. I have more than one resume type. I have like 5. I personally have like 5 different ranges. So have different resume types. It helps to keep yourself up to date with the trend as well. As I said, your resume should not be more than 3 pages. I think anything more than 3 pages is getting too long. Be brief, be direct, and always update your resume when you have updated skills. If you go for a training or blah blah blah, put a section on trainings, put it there. If you get a certification, put a space for it and put it there with your educational information. So I think this should be my last slide, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, well, this is just note to self. Just ensure that you don't put yourself under too much pressure. I know a lot is going on in Nigeria, but please try and make sure that you learn a skill. Be very proactive in terms of learning a skill and seeking out the type of certifications that will apply to the industry you're actually keen in getting into. Don't just leave it up to chance. Be very, very particular, very, very intentional about how you want to approach your job search. Find a mentor. It's always going to be very, very helpful. Emmanuel, in my previous firm, Emmanuel was so beloved that at some point he had like 7 or 8 people that chose him as, you know, as their mentor. So please find a mentor that you can always speak with, that can help you, and believe in yourself and hold your head up. Don't compare yourself. And I think with that, with God on our side, I believe that the sky is starting place for us. Thank you.
Wow. Can we just drop an emoji, you know, something, a reaction to appreciate our facilitator? I think some deep insight there for everybody in the room, you know, to pick 1 or 2 things from. And so before you exit, can you quickly take this question? You know, that's somebody that wants to check with you. What should a general summary look like for a fresh graduate or a young professional? What should it look like? Hello, are you still there, sir?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I didn't know I was talking. Because you are just fresh out of school, so you want to put something that most likely highlights the skills you've gotten in school, not just the courses you took part in. You're a self-starter, you know, an ambitious young person. It doesn't have to be sounding like Revelation. It can be 2 lines, can be 3 lines. But what you want to communicate is that you are hardworking, you are very open to learning, and you are looking for opportunities where your skills can also be better put to good use. Something very general, because as I said, you are just starting. All right, you just finished your NYSC. You are looking for graduate training roles, so you can put something that is a little bit generic. All right, but you also need to make sure that you insert in that summary the how would I put it, the skills you have, or the skills you probably have that you feel will put you in a better state. I'm willing to work with, if people have maybe the type of summaries that they probably have on their CV right now. I'm willing to look at some and help review with the house requirements.
Wow,
at a different platform.
Thank you very much for that generosity. We appreciate that. Once again, let's appreciate Mr. Abayomi Olatemiju. Mr. Abayomi Olatemiju is currently the Group HR Head at African Plus Partner. You know, thank you very much for our time. We may not be able to take more questions. I will ask our mentees in the room, participating in this semester, that if you have any follow-on question for Mr. Abayomi, you can drop it on the classroom page, and then we will share with him. He will return with a voice note, answering those questions for us. We need to quickly run into the next session for today, where we'll be having our next speaker take us through a very important topic. In fact, myself, I'm looking forward to this topic. I want to be sure that I'm still right in my career path, and I'm not doing things wrong. And the next speaker will be talking about purpose and career alignment. I think this is a topic that is very profound for anybody that just wants to get the career started, in order to be sure that you are not missing out in purpose, and you are also firing on all cylinders when it comes to your career. So we have a very adept professional in the room. I got to know her during my KPMG days, and since that time, I've been seeing exploits all over the place. Let me just quickly do a bit of introduction of our next speaker. Then we go into the conversation.